Hello, Legion. This is Hadrian. Thank you for being here. This is the look ahead for June 30th, 2017. Let's talk about what's coming soon. For those of you who haven't seen these before, these are basically channel updates. I post them every even-numbered month and give you the opportunity to send in some questions in advance. Before we begin, as I always do, I'd like to take a moment to say welcome to the channel. Last look ahead, which was in April, Roma Galactica was a new series and was driving tons of new subscriptions. And for that reason and others, City Skylines, The Long Dark's new content, 2.5 months later, I have the honor and privilege of welcoming 3,500 new subscribers to the Legion. And I'm going to go off script for just a second again to say welcome and thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you for following the various series and commenting and liking the videos and doing all that you do to make this growing legion of YouTube subscribers a great place to be, not only for me, but for the other people that are here enjoying the channel with you. So speaking of enjoying the channel, if you're enjoying not just watching, but being a part of that group that regularly interacts with me and with each other on the videos, I have a video for you. A few videos, actually. The link is on your screen now. I update these videos periodically, but it's called the Channel and Community Miniseries, and I wanted to give you guys something to show you what we've got going on social media and where you can connect with me and each other outside of just YouTube. Because I mean, the YouTube comments are great, but you know, when you really want to have in-depth, especially topical discussions, or if you want to have certain kind of direct interactions, other social media are better for that. So I kind of made the video with social media lay people in mind. Like if you're not really into using those sites, but you like the idea of interacting more with us, then by all means, check out the Channel and Community miniseries first video. It's quite short, I assure you. I'd also like to take this opening moment in the video to thank my Patreon supporters for their generosity and support. I put together a new build of my computer earlier in the year with your help, and it's running beautifully, not only just for everyday purposes, but for recording, of course, and things have been going quite well. And also, I guess I should mention, I bought a new desk for use with this new recording space that I've set up in my new place, and so that's something you guys have helped with as well. I'm considering hopping on the solid-state train at long last in the coming months and doing a fresh OS install to help my core applications load and run faster, not only from a new install, but from a faster drive. All of that, of course, will help during my recording and editing processes, so you guys on Patreon continue to make a tremendous impact on the channel and on me, and I just appreciate you very much. If you don't know what Patreon is and or you would like to support the channel directly, the second video in that Channel and Community miniseries I just mentioned is something you should watch. And if you do look at it, so you know, the only reason it's so long is that I talk through the entire FAQ that's already on the Patreon page for you to read. I talk through the whole thing in the video. So there's a big chunk of it at the end. The beginning has all the brief summary you could want, and you can skip the rest. If you enjoy the content that I put out, and you want to help ensure that I can continue to improve my equipment, do better and better recording, fund other channel-related endeavors in the future, donating as little as $1 a month makes a world of difference. Check out the Patreon video or the Patreon link on the channel banner for more information on that. So let's get started. Time for me to hop off the script, thank God. Here's the table of timestamps. Feel free to navigate around to your topic of choice based on what you see here. Okay, I confess, I'm still in a script for like another 20 words. I'll leave this up for a moment while I talk about the first item, which is... Okay, now I'm off the script. Community growth, social media, Discord. So speaking of social media and Discord, which is a topic that came up in the previous look ahead, and I want to talk about it again. So our community, again, we have 3,500 new subscribers. It's awesome, and I'm so glad you guys are here. But one thing that's interesting to me, and it's not like I'm hugely surprised, or I'm certainly not disappointed, but obviously you guys that have been here for a long time know that I have had the social media set up since the very beginning. And a lot of people would say, well, why'd you set it up so early? And the answer is, and has been, that I wanted it to be there for people who wanted to use it. And because the channel is still small in the grand YouTube scheme of things, quite small, there are not that many people who are not content in the YouTube comment section. That's a double negative. The point is that most of you, I think, are happy just to use the YouTube comment section. And if that's the way you feel, that's fine. But I want to take a second just to acknowledge that the other social media channels do exist. Obviously, I can't make anyone use them, but the subreddit, the Steam group, and Twitter to a certain extent. Twitter probably is the one where I'm most active talking to you guys and interacting with not only members of the Legion, but developers and other folks that I talk to on a regular basis. but the channel dedicated to social media, like the subreddit, like the Steam group, tends to be pretty quiet. And I thought I would take this opening moment in the video to kind of invite a discussion in the comments, or if someone wants to start one in one of the other social media channels. I'm not going to start it this time because I figure if someone wants to have the discussion, you guys can start the topic yourself, which is the entire point of this discussion. Like, what do you want to see from social media for the channel? Obviously, there's an argument to be made for maybe the channel just doesn't need it yet, maybe it's too small. So let's not go in that direction, because I understand that perspective and I totally see where you're coming from. What I want to talk about is, we do have social media, we do. So what are maybe some of the best ways to make use of it? And on that note, another thing I want to bring up, which I mentioned a moment ago, is Discord. Now, Discord is an actual chat room and voice chat room service for not just YouTube channels, but just social media. It's mainly for gamers. It's meant as an alternative to TeamSpeak or Curse voice chat, stuff like that. And people have been asking me about Discord for a long time because it gives you a real-time way to interact back and forth in chat with me or with anyone else. And there are voice chat channels as well. And I want to let you guys know we are going to be getting a Discord in the future. However, speaking of channel and community growth, I'm doing this carefully. Obviously, I've told you guys I've had my reservations about Discord. Not that I think it's a bad service, but just because, and we'll talk about this during the Q&A portion of the video. The thing about Discord is that because it is real-time chat and people can be in there and be talking where I can't necessarily be there. I'm not saying that you guys need a babysitter, you certainly don't, but every now and then someone shows up that does, right? And those of you who have been here for a long time, know that I care a great deal about quality control in the community. I don't let negative voices in. If the very first thing you say to me is a sarcastic, snide, rude, negative, toxic, hateful, or otherwise just unnecessarily negative remark, I tend to be pretty swift in my removal of those commenters. Not just the comments, but the commenters, because it's just a symptom of some greater internet issues and issues in the gaming community that we're facing right now, where people are so eager to be negative and rude on the internet, and it's unnecessary, and it drags everybody down. It drags down my mental health. It drags down the mental health of everyone that has to read it, especially when it's allowed as normative, and it's not normative. It's not. Like, people like to come into services like Discord. Let me get back on topic. And they like to talk about whatever, negative thing they might want to bring up. And I'm not saying that's a lot of you. I am very pleased with the Legion in general as a community. I think you guys are amazing. And I think the Legion is full of big-hearted, honest, thoughtful, wonderful people that I have just enjoyed interacting with every single day. You guys have no idea how much I appreciate you. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about that when I get to your questions, because a few people asked me about it. But just for the record, what I'm going to do with the Discord, because I do want to be careful, and I do want to make sure we do this right. I am in the process of bringing on a few folks as YouTube comment moderators. And I want to let those people get their feet wet. And I want to let them kind of have some experience for a bit before I actually launch the Discord server. Because when I launch the Discord server, I want to have at least one other person that is willing to kind of be a somewhat frequent presence and just help me keep an eye on things, so that people know that there is someone there that is keeping chat civil and is looking after the health of the community, because proper moderation is something that is lacking in a lot of online forums and communities like ours. And I just want to make sure that we can maintain the same level of civility and respect and moderation and quality control that you guys are used to on the channel in the Discord server. That's very important. So please be patient with me on Discord. We are going to have one. I've already got it mostly set up. So you guys will be, of course, the first to know. Who else would I tell first when that service launches? And I think it's going to be a lot of fun because, like I said, this just provides different chat opportunities. Those of you who want to play games together, I can set up rooms to let people do pickup games. And, of course, we can do voice chat from time to time as well. I think I'm going to leave the servers up for whoever wants to use them, so you guys will have that option as well. So again, let me know your thoughts on Discord, and definitely let me know your thoughts in general on social media. What would you like to see And I want to talk about this in the comments below. And again, if you guys want to start threads elsewhere in social media, you can too. And you can go there and see if people maybe have a discussion going on Reddit or Steam or whatever. Or on Twitter, just use hashtag LPQR like you guys know to do. But by the way, hashtag LPQR, for those of you who don't know what that is, again, one of the most common abbreviations in ancient Rome was SPQR, which is the Senate and the People of Rome. Senatus Populusque Romana, I believe it's pronounced. And LPQR I thought was just kind of a nice tongue-in-cheek way to change the lettering and have a kind of a, not wordplay, but a letter play on that abbreviation, because obviously LP stands for Let's Play. So LPQR is our hashtag for the channel on Twitter if you ever want to make sure that anything you tweet is connected to the rest of the Legion. LPQR is pretty exclusive to us. I haven't seen other people using it, so that's one way you can use Twitter to interact as part of the community and have this discussion there if you would like, if you don't want to use Reddit or Steam. So yeah, just let me know what your thoughts are in general on those topics, both Discord and how do we use social media. What do you want to see from social media? What do you think it's going to take to get it going? Do we just need more time? Again, let's not talk about like whether or not we should have them, because I want to have them and they're already set up. So that ship has sailed. But let's talk about. I don't want to steer the conversation beyond that though. So let's just talk about where we can go from here and what are some of the best ways to do it. I'm open to feedback from you guys, and I would love to see some activity around that discussion as a starting point. I actually have a thread going in the subreddit already that's dedicated to this, but it's old. So again, you can feel free to start a new one if you'd like. So now it's time to shift gears and actually talk about the channel schedule. This is the channel schedule. As you can see, I've got a couple of weeks planned out here. Right now, of course, as I record this, I have just taken the channel to half schedule. I think the announcement video went live on Thursday, right? And then Wednesday is when we actually had the first day of half schedule. This episode, funny enough, I was taking the channel to half schedule that day. I totally planned to, but this was supposed to come out on Wednesday, and I just had it slotted for the wrong day. And then someone commented later in the day like, hey, you didn't upload. Is everything okay? And I was like, oh, oops. I didn't realize that hadn't played, but I was just busy with a lot of other stuff, and that got delayed a little bit. So let's actually, let's start with the Elder King and the 12 p.m. slot in general. So we just finished an interesting experiment in the 12 p.m. slot, which was, we did an epilogue series for the first time. I've talked about doing this for the Elder King and for Alexander. I think general consensus from a few folks that have commented so far is that it wasn't really that interesting past a couple of episodes. There was at least one person emphatically saying that it's not even necessary at all. So obviously there's mixed opinions on this. Once you've won the game, there's certain people who lose interest. Honestly, when I play Civ 6, I will sometimes keep playing past victory because I just want to keep existing in that world. And we'll talk again about that a little bit more when I get to your questions in a moment. But I would say, based on how viewership went and some of the comments that I received, and also how I felt about it after a bit, we're probably not going to do any more epilogues on the channel, I would guess, unless there's a very good reason to do like an episode or two. Beyond that, I just don't think it's necessary. In the case of the Elder King, the reason I did it is twofold. Number one, I wanted to make sure that we actually got a chance to have some warfare, because we set it up to be a war and culture series, but the way the map kind of placed us, it ended up being an empire building series, which you guys know is fine for me, but it just, I wanted to kill Cleopatra, man. So we did that. But anyway, so this new series coming up, I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's a little bit of a surprise. I am very kind of cognizant of the fact that we are closing in on 10,000 subscribers, and I've been thinking a lot about, what's a series that I can do, not necessarily to celebrate that occasion, because we're not there yet, but to kind of maybe have something going for around that time. What's a series that might take a little bit longer to play? What game should I play? And I've been going back and forth as to what I'm going to do, but I landed on something that I think you guys are really going to like, and some people have actually asked me about in the past. So not going to spoil anything just yet. Don't expect any huge changes from stuff that I've done in the time slot in the past or even recently, but I think it's going to be cool, and it's kind of a nice, like I said, it's a way to think about the channel at 10,000 strong and return to the channel's roots and think about, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm playing Total War, don't overinterpret that, but like just return to the channel's roots and like the kinds of things that I really enjoy playing. I really thought a lot about, well, what would I want to do? It's not that I wasn't thinking about you guys, but I was like, well, what's a fun series for me to do to kind of celebrate as we close in on 10,000? And that's how I arrived at where we are. So it's a little bit different from stuff I've done recently, and I hope you guys will enjoy it. And just to kind of span things out for a bit. Obviously, these are the coming weeks. I've got these weeks slotted out they're on half schedule. I know you're looking at this going, oh God, we're going to be half scheduled to all of July. That's just the way the plan is right now. I very much doubt it's going to be half scheduled for that long. It might not even be half scheduled for a full week. I need a second to get caught up on my time slots. And of course, Faithful Cartographer Interloper is going, in the 9 p.m. wildcard slot. These are the 2 dedicated slots that I always try to keep running, and these are my bonus slots. I have 3 wildcards. You guys have seen, this is of course where the City Skyline series was running not too long ago. Here's New Ravenna. God, my upload schedule was so screwed up for this. But then of course, we have the 3 p.m. and the 9 p.m. slot as well. But these are the 2 that I try to keep running at all times. And so probably I would imagine later this week, maybe at the beginning of the week of July 9th, you'll see all of this click back into place and actually be solid all the way through, more like this. So yeah, we're going to have the new series do 20 episodes, and then we might do another new series in the noon time slot, or we might go back to something that I need to finish up. There are a few older series that I haven't finished yet that I know some people are chomping for me to finish, and they wouldn't be epilogue. They'd be actually proper gameplay finishes to get to the goals of the series. So that's one thing that I'm strongly leaning towards. So that's the noon slot, and I will say really quickly about the noon slot before I move on that, this has been a solid Civilization time slot for a long time, and I'm definitely getting to a point where in the coming months, you're going to start seeing me switch out games. I'm still going to keep Civ in that slot, alternating always. I don't think I'm going to completely kick it out for a long time, if ever, for the rest of the channel's life. I love Civilization 6, and I think it's only going to get better as expansions come out. But I think it's time we brought back some Total War. I think it's time we experimented with some other historical strategy and grand strategy games. I am still in the process of trying to find time, and I think I actually am going to this summer. I'm excited. Trying to find time to learn EU4. And I haven't played CK2 in a while. I need to brush up on CK2 with some of the expansions that have come out, but I would still like to do a Byzantine playthrough in CK2. The issue with doing a Byzantine playthrough in CK2 is that I tend to just get so frustrated every time I try that on my own. And having you guys to help and advise me and take me through episode by episode might be good, but like I've said in many videos recently, I'm really in a mode where I'm trying to get ahead of my recording schedule, and I'm trying to get back into the habit of recording multiple episodes in advance. So there's only so much you guys are going to be able to help me, and I want to make sure that I can kind of do that series on my own time and know how to do it and know how to succeed before I try it. So that's something that I definitely am keeping in mind as well. But the Paradox Grand Strategy titles, just understand, I am still learning them. CK2 I know, but I'm rusty with, and EU4 I'm still learning. So those are something I'd like to play, but I can't say like when I'm going to bring them in just yet. I still would very much like to. I've been talking about it forever. But anyway, that's the noon time slot. The 6 p.m. time slot, of course, right now we have Against All Odds Season 4 going at the moment, and this is scheduled all the way out through, what do we have here? The 20th, and you guys, I wanted to come out to this week here. Now, of course, it's going to be sooner than this. Again, half schedule is going to end sooner than this, so this is probably going to be in one of these weeks. But look here. Look what we've got. As soon as Against All Odds episode 20 airs, we're going to do a content rotation, and I already know I want to start a new Stellaris series, given how popular Roma Galactica was, and I know you guys are chomping at the bit to see more of that. So that will definitely be there. And then what I can tell you, as far as those of you who are interested in seeing more city skylines, that did really, really well with the 9 a.m. slot in New Ravenna a little while ago. And I was reluctant to even end that series, but I had to, just given the fact that I had so much content going at once. But I will definitely be bringing in, as soon as I have opportunity in the 6 p.m. slot, I will definitely be bringing in a full-fledged series of City Skylines as soon as possible. There's a lot of variables that can go into when that's going to be exactly, but I guarantee you that's something I've got my eye on as well. But for now, we're looking at alternating some Long Dark content until Against All Odds Season 4 is done, and Stellaris content. And that's the plan for the time being. And you might also have noticed, as I scrolled through, when Faithful Cartographer Interloper ends, which I have it scheduled through 30 right now, who knows how far we'll get. I don't really want to go past 30, to be honest with you. I would like to go back to another series. I don't typically go all the way to 30 episodes straight in a series anyway, so I've already been playing this longer than I intended to. But Locker's Call will be returning, and I'm going to bring it into the 9 p.m. slot for its next 20 episodes. So that's the plan for that. So you might have noticed, again, that's not a normal time slot. I don't always have stuff going at 9, but I figured I'd bring back Subnautica and see where we can go from there. So let me think, is there anything else schedule-wise that I might need to talk about? We talked about CK2, talked about U4, talked about Stellaris. Talked about the Long Dark. Yeah, I think we're covered there. I guess it's time. If you have any questions about the schedule, feel free to ask in the comments below. So now that we're done with that, that means we are ready to answer some questions for those of you who have been looking forward to the AMA all month. So I usually, when I do a look ahead, I like to post an AMA call earlier in the month. This one went out in the first week of June, just saying, hey, ask me anything. Let me know what you guys want to know about the channel, about me, about a particular series or game or whatever you might be curious about. And you guys left some great questions. There were questions submitted through Twitter. There were questions submitted mainly on the channel, but also some questions from Reddit. So it's been a lot of fun reading through these. One thing I want to note before I get started, if your question is not here, I saved every single question that was asked as an image file, and the questions you're about to see were the images that I saved. I just filtered some out because not only did we have a lot of questions, but there were some duplicates. There were some questions that I've addressed before. So just know that I saw your question, and if it's not here, it's because I chose not to answer it. And that's just the way that these things go. The more people we have on the channel, the more common that's going to be. So right now, while the community is still kind of small and there's not too many questions to answer, it might seem strange if there's a question I don't answer, but just it's normal, you know, for me to skip a few. So let me jump right in. First one from Twitter, Felly asked me, so Hadrian, in the vein of everyone's awesome AMA questions, here's a deep one. Have you heard any leaf blowers since moving? Winky face, #LPQR. No, Felly, I haven't. I'm just kidding. I've heard a few. But the thing is, the great thing is, the reason it used to bother me so much, the reason I used to rant so much on Twitter is because they were right outside my window, which was right next to my desk. My face was 2 or 3 feet from the window, and in between my face and the window was my microphone. So it was very, very stressful trying to record, you know, at my old place. And now, I mean, yeah, I'll hear a leaf blower from time to time, but it doesn't bother me anymore. It doesn't cause me anxiety anymore because I can close myself in this space and have a sound quality that I think is fantastic and not have to worry about any noise, not even from the road. I was worried about road noise, but what I've got set up right now blocks the vast majority of it, if not all of it. It's really, really great. So, yes, I've heard leaf blowers. No, they haven't bothered me. Nice question to kick things off. Thanks, Felly. Karka Kameril asks, and I hope I got that right, exactly how excited are you for story mode to come out in the Long Dark, and will we get to see you play it? I ask because there are a lot of strategy and survival games on your channel, but not very much in the way of narrative-driven gameplay. And this is a great question to kind of open things up and talk about the nature of the games that I play. A few other people asked about this as well, so I might touch on different aspects of it as I get to questions. Here's the thing. I actually don't think, from a Let's Play perspective, that I would really enjoy playing content that is overtly story-driven. And when I say overtly, I'm talking about games like the Long Dark story mode. Hold on, I'll get to that in a second. Games like, for instance, my favorite game of all time is Mass Effect, and I don't think I would ever play Mass Effect on the channel. The reason being, yes, there is a lot of control. There are ways that a Mass Effect Let's Play could be interesting and the story could be emergent because games like that are designed to like give you options and alternatives, and people have different experiences depending on the choices they make. But I really, really like to focus on the channel with games that have underlying narrative, games that have a narrative that maybe you have to imagine a little bit, games that kind of spark that imagination and make you think about a story and think about like what's happening in the lives of the people in this kingdom that I've built, and what's happening in the head of this person that's running through the snow, you know, trying to survive. When the game doesn't tell you exactly what's happening, you have to kind of fill in the blank yourself, and that's always an experience that I have really, really enjoyed. So to get to your first question, like how excited am I for story mode to come out in the Long Dark and will we get to see you play it? I'm really excited. I have to be honest, I think my excitement is more just enthusiasm for the team and enthusiasm for the game. I am excited for them to release the game and to reach that milestone, and I have supported this game. I've played it since 2015, and I've been supporting it on the channel since later in the same year. And Hinterland is just a good group of people, and I want to see them succeed. I want to play the story mode, but I find so much enjoyment in the sandbox mode that I'm not like super excited. Like, I think there are a lot of people who are genuinely like bored of sandbox mode and they want a story because they want that substance. I am so content because of, again, what I said a moment ago, the kinds of stories that I enjoy from games. I'm so content with just sandbox mode. So as far as whether you'll get to see me play it, I haven't made up my mind yet because there are so many Long Dark viewers on this channel. I think a lot of people are going to want to see it, but what it really comes down to is, am I going to want to play it? I mean, yeah, I'm probably going to want to play it, but am I going to want to record it for the channel? And I'm just still deciding. I'm sorry not to give you a definitive answer, but it's something that I genuinely haven't made up my mind on yet. So that's that. Lazarus Ivan asks, why are you so fascinated with strategy games? Well, a lot of it has to do with what I just said in response to the previous question, but I do like this question because it just gets at the core element of why do I like strategy so much. I really, some of the games that I played growing up, I didn't necessarily get into strategy until like high school, like Age of Empires and Age of Empires 2, etc. StarCraft, of course. StarCraft was probably my first strategy game that I played. But why are you so fascinated with strategy games? Some of the first games that I played before those were simulation games like SimCity. And not some of the first games, but some of the first games in this vein that kind of tickles this preference that I have. That you're asking me about. And I think the answer to your question is simply that when I am playing a strategy game, whether I'm conquering an enemy or just building my own empire, I like the feeling of world building and also cognitive investment that you get from playing a game like that. When you play a game like Halo or Call of Duty or a lot of first-person shooters, it's really visceral and it's fun and it gives you a lot of dopamine in your brain and you feel great. But like after a few hours of playing it, you feel like a slug because you've just been literally on a dopamine high for a couple hours. Whereas I'm not saying that games like Civ don't do that to you, but when you play games like this and strategy games, there's a lot of thought and a lot of again cognitive investment that goes into it that I think first-person shooters and other genres are lacking, and it's very unique to the strategy and grand strategy genres where you have to really think through what you're doing and make smart decisions, and that's what I enjoy the most. That's why I'm fascinated with strategy games, I think. Oliver TV asks, what is your relation to ancient Roman history? With a name like Hadrian, I guess you have some sort of interest in it. Yes, I'm a massive Romanophile. There's no actual, I don't have an education in Roman history apart from Latin that I took in literally middle school, so it's been a long time. But as far as why I'm fascinated with it, I don't remember what actually sparked my interest. I think it might have just been, you see a Roman legionary, from the height of the empire's power, with the red crest on the helmet and the red or purple cloth and the silver armor, a lot of that's just a really, really cool look. That was always just a really cool look to me. And I remember seeing Gladiator for the first time, and Gladiator is hands down my favorite movie of all time. And that really cemented as a young adult my kind of love for Roman history. And I didn't know that much back then, and I kind of fell out of touch with it for a while. But when I got back into I played Rome Total War 1, of course, when it came out, and when I got back into Rome Total War 2 about almost 2 years after it came out, I really, really fell headlong back into my love for Roman history. So Hadrian actually is a name that even before I got into Roman history, I used as a screen name, just long time ago. And it's just something, it has nothing to do with ancient Rome. I just like the name Hadrian. I even there's a fiction character that I came up with that has that name as well. So that's the connection there. I don't have a personal connection to Hadrian, of course, or anything like that. It's just the name is just one that I've always liked, and so I stuck with it because Hadrian is also one of the greatest Roman emperors. So it's certainly a distinguished name to go with for more than one reason. Ball15 asks, boxers or briefs? Boxers. OsWePay asks, what computer games did you get your start with back when you were a little Roman emperor? So I kind of talked about this a second ago. I was really into SimCity, and you asked specifically about computer games. So I'm going to talk about computer games. When I say SimCity, the very first one I actually played was Super Nintendo. But when it comes to the computer, I don't know. It depends what you mean by a little Roman emperor. I remember, I don't remember the names of these games anymore. I remember one was called Treasure Island. I'm thinking about old DOS games. Treasure Island. They were math games that I played when I was a kid. And you walked around as this dude that would have to go through different levels, and the way that you beat the levels was solving math problems. But I played those when I was a kid, when I was very young, and that's one of the first computer games I remember playing. I remember playing King's Quest 6 when I was a little bit older. I remember playing The first one that I remember getting really excited about as a computer game, though, was SimCity 2000. Oh my God, when that game came out. I think I got excited about it before it was even released, and I could not wait to play it. And then, of course, I mentioned StarCraft a moment ago. I think StarCraft is another one that I really have had an affinity for. Well, I actually haven't played StarCraft. I own all of StarCraft 2. I've barely played any of it. But StarCraft was my first strategy game, so I think it just deserves an honorable mention, even if I am not as into it as I used to be. I really, really played it a lot in high school. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. So Jomo Kin asks, would you ever consider a Planet Coaster series? I think it'd be enjoyable watching you build or manage a park, perhaps even theme it around a favorite game of yours. I'd consider it. I might consider it and say no. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I know that's a really lame answer. What you really want to know is, like, are you going to play Planet Coaster? I understand. But the thing about Planet Coaster, I haven't played it at all. I've seen a lot of people play it. I think I would have to wait for, kind of like what I did with City Skylines. I'd want to wait for like an expansion to be coming out and see if I could time it right with something like that. But would you ever consider a Planet Coaster series? Yeah, I think I would. I need to learn more about the game. I definitely enjoy simulation stuff, so I would be surprised if I outright hated it. But it'd be very different from stuff I've done on the channel in the past. So I would have to kind of see what you mean by like theming it around a favorite game of yours and stuff like that. So I just need to get into the game before I decide to, let's play it. Obviously, I'm pretty sure that resonates with most of you. Josh Eichholz asks, who is your favorite, and Josh, tell me if I mispronounced your name. Who is your favorite leader in Civ 6? Ooh. Again, I don't script these. Who is my favorite leader? I mean, obviously I'm preferential to Trajan, but Trajan's bonuses are cool, but Trajan is like a really good newbie civilization. As far as the civs I've played more recently, I have to say I enjoyed playing as Germany. The extra production as Germany was pretty sweet, and the U-boats were a lot of fun for keeping enemy navies at bay. I think my favorite leader that I've played as, though, that I've done multiple playthroughs as, one on YouTube and more offline, is Cyrus, Persia. I think he might take the cake right now. All the leaders in Civ 6 are awesome in their own way, I think, but Cyrus with his surprise abilities is just amazing to play as. And I enjoy playing as him a great deal because of his ability to declare swift wars where you can move really rapidly into enemy territory while also building up a lot of culture and being able to conquer cities without worrying about their development while you're in the midst of fighting the rest of the war. He's a fun leader to play as. So yeah, I'd have to say Cyrus. JP Villieu asks, does recording gameplay of The Long Dark ever limit the experience or impact for you? I mean, you're addressing us the whole time, and that must affect how the game feels. It's supposed to be sort of quiet and lonely. Thanks! How's it going, JP? So here's the thing with The Long Dark. I don't think it does at all. I don't think it does limit the experience or impact for me. I mean, I'm thinking about it really hard, like as far as whether it would change the experience somehow. I mean, yes, I've talked about extensively how I guess one limitation would be because I do commentary when I play The Long Dark, inevitably what happens is I will sometimes distract myself because I'm talking while I'm supposed to be seeing something, and I'll overlook something, or I'll make a mistake, or I'll heat up Reishi tea 3 times in a row, which totally hasn't happened recently. So that can impact it, but that's not like a negative for me. I guess it can be a negative for some viewers who maybe want to see a bit more finely tuned gameplay and a little bit less distraction, but that's a personal preference, and you can't accommodate everyone's personal preference on YouTube. It's just not possible. So, but as far as like violating how quiet and lonely it feels, nah. I think the music does a good job of preserving that feeling for me, as well as just the game's design in general. And I enjoy bringing you guys in to experience it with me. It doesn't make it any less quiet, maybe a little less lonely, but I don't think it affects the experience as much as you might think. Good question. That one made me think. So we got one from Reddit here, from Lightning Scar 01. Hey Hadrian, my question for you is, have you ever thought about doing an HOI 4, which is Hearts of Iron 4 Paradox game, and or a Plague Inc. Let's Play? Let me start with the second one first, because I've played more Plague Inc. than I have HOI 4. Plague Inc. I think is more of a streaming game. If I ever did a surprise stream and wanted to do something completely different, I might do Plague Inc. The thing is that people have had Plague Inc. for a while now, so I don't even know how like popular that would be. But I enjoy the game a lot, I have to say. As far as HOI 4, I have Hearts of Iron 4. I haven't played it that much. I am much more interested in learning EU4 and relearning, getting my skills in CK2 back up to snuff before I would get interested in learning HOI 4. And the reason for that is I tend not to be as interested in strategy games that are set in a modern era. I'm okay with sci-fi, and I'm okay with, you know, more ancient history. But once it starts getting into like the modern day, there's part of me that just can't really relate as easily to that. So I'm sorry if that's disappointing, but that's just my honest feeling towards Hearts of Iron 4. I've never really felt that inclined to like get into it heavily. But, you know, once I actually have a chance to play it and learn it a little bit, that might change. So we'll have to see. Another one from Reddit. Ave Hadrian, I'm a somewhat recent subscriber of your videos and have been going through some of your older playlists. My questions are these. Are you planning on returning to Crusader Kings 2 soon? Yes. Will you be returning to Lord of the Scots or start a new campaign? This is kind of the same question, so that's why I'm giving you more than one here. Yes, I will try to return to Lord of the Scots. I would also like to start a new campaign as well. And any additional DLC or mods? Yeah, probably. I loved your Stellaris campaign. I really enjoy Paradox's other grand strategies, and I'd love to see this return. I appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoyed Stellaris and some of the other stuff, and I would definitely like to get back to CK2 sometime soon, like I talked about earlier in the video. Back to YouTube. Crimson Fox asks, I am not sure if you've been watching E3, but if you have, are there any games or titles that have been shown there that you feel for the future would be ideal games for you to stream? Let me actually use this as an opportunity to start another discussion for those of you who want to talk about it in the comments. What games would you guys want to see on the channel as far as things that were at E3 that would fit in? The one that jumps out for me is Age of Empires Remastered. Holy crap, I will be playing that. That is a definite yes. Again, that was one of my first strategy games, and again, you get to play as ancient Rome in that as well as other, you know, classical civilizations. So I will absolutely be playing Age of Empires Remastered, and I cannot wait for that one. But aside from that, I can't think of any off the top of my head that I'm like really chomping at the bit to play. So let me know what your thoughts are. I'd be curious to see what you guys would want to see if it kind of jived with the rest of the content that I do in a given time slot. Hesh Kadesh asks, I am currently on a binge watch of a couple of Transport Fever series. Are you ever going to bring the Roman legions to the 19th century to create a transport empire and take over the map that way? I've loved your city skylines and would like to see more of that style. Apparently I'm getting old and enjoy watching buildings grow more than watching bodies explosively decompress or get brutally decapitated. Fair enough. So I think I picked up Transport Fever. I remember picking it up. I think it was a cool concept. I don't remember feeling that engaged by the first couple of minutes of gameplay. So it might be something that I revisit in the future. I don't like to say never. I don't like to rule out games entirely. But I don't know that I would do that. I don't know that I would play Transport Fever. I do know that it's pretty popular with fans in that genre. So if that was something that I ever wanted to tap into and was looking for something different, Transport Fever would be high on the list, I think. Thanks for your question. Justin DeMay, how's it going, man? Asks, what's your favorite game? I think I said that a moment ago. My favorite game of all time is Mass Effect 1, 2, or 3. I mean, I consider them all one game, really. Andromeda, I've played through maybe 33% of it, and then I've just been busy this past month, so I haven't had a chance to boot it back up. But Mass Effect is probably my all-time, hands-down favorite. The only one that comes close to tying with it, there's actually there's two, really. My top three are very close together. There's the Mass Effect series, which, again, I consider one game for the purposes of rankings. Chrono Trigger, the original Chrono Trigger. Well, maybe the PlayStation Chrono Trigger because I had the anime cutscenes. Those were cool. But yeah, Chrono Trigger. And then Final Fantasy IX. Those are my top games. So there's my inner RPG player up there. And then The Long Dark is actually number 4. It's up there in my top 5. So yeah, that's my favorite game. Nathan Almond, as well as the Dragon Gamer, asks, well, this is Nathan's question first, but they ask similar things. Will you be playing Total War Warhammer 2, and will you play Oriental Empires, as that is an amazing strategy game? Of course, the Dragon Gamer asks, have you heard of the game Oriental Empires? If so, will you ever play it on the channel? It's kind of like Civ 6. So I'm going to talk about Warhammer in a second, Nathan, so hold that thought because there's someone else that asked about that, but I want to answer that together with that question. As far as Oriental Empires, I don't think I have it, but it is something that I would definitely consider playing. But the thing is that I think I've laid out some pretty clear plans for the noon slot, and we're probably going to continue covering a lot of Civ 6 content. So if I did Oriental Empires, you would probably see a mini-series first to kind of see how many people watched it, and then we would go, I think, from there. And Nathan, here's that question I was mentioning. Praetorian, good to hear from you, man. So what's your opinion on Total War Warhammer now and Warhammer 2 coming up? Still not interested? Yeah, still not interested. I'm also curious to see what you think about the information given on the historical projects from Creative Assembly a while back. I recently picked up all the DLC for Warhammer. There's still a part of me that wants to give it a chance and wants to figure it out and learn it, but every time I try to play it, I just can't buy into it. I've never been, I'm not knocking the Warhammer lore. I've talked about it in the past. I'm not going to talk about it at length here because I've already answered the question in past look aheads, but it doesn't appeal to me. I don't like the look of the Empire. I don't like the names of the characters. I don't know. It just doesn't click with me. It's just not quite breed of fantasy that I've been able to get into. That could change though. Like I said, I bought both the DLCs. So if Warhammer 2 comes out and something tempts me to play it, then we'll see. I mean, they're certainly being very well received, the Total War Warhammer games. As far as the rest of your question is, which is more specifically your question, because the Total War question was, Nathan's from a moment ago. I'm also curious to see what you think about the information given on the historical projects from CA a while back. I love that they have a separate team working on historical projects, and I can't wait to hear what they're going to do. I would imagine they're going to do a World War I Total War, which I will try to play. Again, modern settings, not as much my thing, but I would much rather play a historical Total War title than a fantasy Total War title. And that's absolutely true. So I will be keeping my eye on that, and I'll be waiting with bated breath, because that's something that I think I would definitely cover on the channel as soon as I had the opportunity to reveal any information on a title that was not a Total War Warhammer title. Christopher E. asks, will you ever do some of the harder civs to play? Clio, Norway, my favorite, France, etc. I actually would like to do Norway at some point. Norway is up there on the list of countries that watch my content most regularly when it comes to ranking and who watches the most. So I would definitely love a chance to play as Harold Hardrada. And as far as playing as Cleopatra, sooner or later I will cave to my inner masochist and play as Cleopatra. I still hate her a little bit too much to do that. But I think it would be interesting to play as her in a full playthrough of Civ 6. So just keep your eyes peeled. That's something that I will, kind of keep in mind in the future. I think that would be fun. And playing as France too. And I would love to eventually play as all the Civs, but I just, one at a time. Nicolama asks, in terms of strategy games, which approach to empire pools do you prefer? Games like Civ with preset empires that are constant, allowing for strategies to be made specifically countering it, or games like Stellaris, whose empires can be tailored more to a particular player, but in turn make it harder to have pre-made plans for success? This is a fantastic question, Nick. Holy crap. Do I like games with preset empires that are constant, or empires that can be tailored? And I have to tell you, first of all, I think I disagree with your characterization of Civ a little bit. The empires in Civ are totally customizable. In Civ 5 and Civ 6, you can always change stuff in very similar ways to the way you change them in Stellaris. But I see what you're asking me about. I think ultimately I prefer the slightly more grand strategy approach, the slightly more paradox approach, which is more customization, more tailor-made stuff, where you can really alter the course of history. But I think having pre-made plans for success, ultimately, that's what creates the fun of the game. Is okay, you have this plan, you're going to play a certain way. Oh crap, how is the game going to spit in your face and really ruin your day? And that's where the fun comes from. That's not only where the fun comes from when you're playing, that's where the fun of a Let's Play comes from. For all the folks that love to, point out to me and other strategy Let's Players, oh, well, here are all the mistakes that you made. If I didn't make mistakes, this wouldn't be interesting to watch. And that's the thing that you have to remember. So I think games that give you more flexibility and more opportunities to make lots of little mistakes are where I lean ultimately, because it's just more interesting. Not to say that I don't like games with those set civilizations. I think an example of a set civilization game would be Age of Empires. That's a better example maybe than Civ. I'm not trying to modify your question, but I understand where you're coming from here, and I think there's a time and a place for those too. I love those games as well. So, Western Philosopher back on Reddit said, return of an avid watcher, as in he's returning as an avid watcher. Why the and didgeridoo do you torture yourself by recording videos for this audience? Why do you do it? And I asked him in clarification, what audience do you mean? He means the Paradox audience. Dude, I gotta tell you, I actually think the Paradox audience is really cool. I think it's full of genuinely helpful and thoughtful people. Sure, there are some asshats, as there are in most communities, but When you look at like Total War's community, either on Reddit or in the comment section, there is noticeably more negativity and less maturity. I'm not saying the Total War community is negative and immature, but there's more. It's just, the problem is worse in that community. In Paradox, I think you just have a lot of avid fans, and because the games are so heady and complex, they kind of filter out a lot of the stupid. Not to be too blunt about it, but they kind of, you have to be on a certain level to even be able to play, let alone enjoy these games. So, and I'm not, God, I hope that doesn't sound like arrogant in some way, but like there's something about the Paradox audience because of that intellectual quality of the games that I think is actually quite nice. And that's why I torture myself by recording videos for this audience. Rob Rules, how's it going, man? Has asked me, have you ever considered building buildings in CK2? You jackass. So, God, nah, for real. Do you want or plan to play Rise of Nations? It has a world conquest mode that is really interesting. Oh man, Rob, I'm so glad you asked me this question. I know I told you that when you asked me initially. Rise of Nations is one of my favorite strategy games of all time. I played the hell out of it when it first came out, and I have the extended edition on Steam. I don't know that I will play it on the channel, but it's something that I would strongly consider because I think it fits right in. So maybe a miniseries at some point, like a World Conquest miniseries, would be pretty cool. I'll keep that in mind. Thanks for the suggestion. Wall asks, do you always record when you play, or do you sometimes play normally? Now, Wall, you asked a bunch of questions. I just want to point this out. And I think Christopher E. did too. So I did have to pick just one that you asked. But do you always record when you play, or do you sometimes play normally? So I play normally a lot, actually. It's just that recording when I play helps me discipline my gaming time, especially if I'm super like stressed. I can say to myself, well, I have to record a certain amount to keep the schedule going, and then I have to stop at a certain point when I'm done recording those episodes, and it helps me kind of have a start and stop time. And then, I will play outside of the channel, not only for my own enjoyment, but I will do test plays to make sure that a certain concept for a series. I did this before Blitzkrieg, for example. I'll do this to make sure that a certain concept for a series is working. So yeah, I do both. I record when I play, and I sometimes just play normally when I feel like it for a variety of reasons. Zylexian asks, who would win 100 duck-sized horses or 1 horse-sized duck? We need to know. I agree, we do need to know. 100 duck-sized horses or 1 horse-sized duck. So if you have literally 100 horses that are like a foot tall tops, less than a foot tall, maybe even half a foot tall, between half a foot and a foot tall, 100 of those. And they're horses, so they don't have beaks, but they have they have hooves. And horses can't really bite or anything, so all they can really do is like rear up and paddle you with their hooves. And then you have 1 horse-sized duck. So you have 1 massive duck with webbed feet and wings. I don't know. Here's the thing. And if you are anywhere where you can't watch a video that might be a little bit not safe for work, or if you are not of an age that would make this appropriate for watching, then don't watch this. But because this is so adult. But go to YouTube and look up true facts about the duck. Okay? Just do that. It's grotesque. It's gonna make you cringe. But do that. Watch that video, and then you'll understand why I'm about to say, I think the duck would win. I think its temperament would win the day. Not only its size, but its temperament. So, yeah. Good question. Appreciate that one. Table Pacer asks, I'm sure you must have at least a few favorite console games. If so, what are your top 3? Or if that's too broad a question, maybe what's your favorite gaming console? Also, if this is too personal, please disregard, but is Hadrian your actual first name or just a username you chose? I ask because it seems like it comes naturally to you. You do most things in one recording, and I've never heard you slip. So, I think I mentioned my favorite console games a bit ago, and what my top 3 were, just by answering Justin's question, but what's your favorite gaming console? That's an interesting one. As far as like the console that I've had the most fun on in recent years, probably got to be the Xbox 360, honest. I have an Xbox One, but I don't have that many games for it because, I'm a graduate student. But yeah, yeah, Xbox 360 is probably where it's at, because I mean, again, the Mass Effect trilogy exists on that system, also on PS3, but first on Xbox 360, of course. So as far as Hadrian being my actual first name, it is not my first name. Like I said earlier in the video, it is just a screen name that I chose a long time ago and decided to pick back up for the YouTube channel. And the reason it comes naturally is because I've practiced a lot. There were a few times early on where I did have to do some editing because I did slip. So thank you for giving me credit, but I've hidden a few things. So anyway, all right, so we've got 2 more questions, and the second to last one is going to take a little bit of time because it touches on something that I think I have been feeling very passionate about, and I want to have a second to answer this question because I appreciate the question being put to me, because it's worthwhile. I think if someone's going to ask me to share this stuff, I want to take a moment to try and influence some folks, and I'll be transparent about that. So Gerfer von Bob, I love that name so much, asks, "Greetings, Hadrian. I posted this question." Oh, this is just the intro. Question: I've followed you somewhat on the Long Dark subreddit with all the drama that seems to be up in the air about how some people perceive the game developers' actions or state of the game. I feel like there seems to be a general outpouring of negativity in gaming in general. I've been dealing with it to a much smaller extent on the Hearts of Iron 4 subreddit. That's a shame to hear that's in Paradox's community, but it's everywhere. Now, reading everyone else's cynicisms with E3, I feel like I'm noticing it more and more with this hobby. I'm assuming you mean with gaming. Have you noticed this as well, or has it always been like this and I've just started to notice this for the first time? This is not to ask about or comment on those particular games, the Long Dark and Hearts of Iron 4, and their detractions, whether it's deserved or not. The second part of this question would be, where do you think the line is, if any, for a genuine outcry by fans to a developer that is deserved, and where is it not? Or where might it not be deserved? Actually, I understand what you're asking with the last part, but the wording at the end of that is throwing me a bit. So anyway, let me first speak to the negativity thing. But there are so many. The problem with answering this question, and I am answering this off the cuff. I thought I would script an answer, but I was like, no. Let me just think about what I want to say a little bit in advance, and then kind of do my best to just speak from the heart. So, the very first thing I have to acknowledge is that there's so many different ways to talk about this, right? Like there's so many different ways to address the negativity in the Long Dark community specifically, negativity in Paradox, negativity in Total War, negativity in gaming in general. And I do think that it's important for the purpose of having this discussion that we talk about the issue in general, not talk about the specifics of one particular situation. I will go into specifics a little bit just for context, but first of all, to answer your question, have I noticed it? Yes. I don't think it's always been like this. I do think it's gotten worse. I think that in general in the gaming community, there is more negativity than there used to be. And I also think that there is a stronger, and these are not my words, this is something that a lot of you are familiar with, there's a stronger sense of entitlement among gamers nowadays. In terms of negativity in general, I think that people on the internet are always going to be more prone to be nasty because they can hide behind their monitors and they can say whatever they want. And what you have to understand is that there are some people out on the internet, and the Long Dark subreddit unfortunately has a bunch of these people. I hate to say it, but it does. There are some people out on the internet that just want to be negative. They want to look at a certain situation, like for instance, a struggling independent developer like Hinterland. And I'm not saying that Hinterland is like struggling. They're about to release The Long Dark. They're doing great, but like they're an indie developer. They're completely self-funded. It can be tough to make ends meet. There is an inherent struggle to being that kind of a company. There are people who look at what happens in that situation and they choose to interpret that situation in a negative way, in the most negative possible way, simply so they can rant, simply so they can then go on social media and rant and rave and accuse and demean and just be incredibly toxic, negative, horrible human beings. I do think that there are some people who are genuinely upset with the game and who are genuinely disappointed with Hinterland, who are genuinely frustrated with the process. And I'm not talking about those people being horrible human beings, but here's a big part of the problem with internet criticism in general. People, and by the way, let me give a quick disclaimer before I continue with this. This is actually something I know. I have to say, I am going to try and teach something really quick here, because this is something that causes a huge amount of dissonance in online communities around a very simple topic that I happen to know some things about. I've read some of the recent research. I've had seminar discussions, graduate level seminar discussions on this topic, and I've been involved in research that actually touches on some of this stuff. So what I'm about to talk about, I'm not BSing anybody. This is something I know a little bit about. So For those of you who know less than me, I hope that this can be helpful. I don't claim to be an expert at all, but I do know a little bit about this. So, a huge part of the problem is that people don't understand what constructive criticism is. If someone like Raphael von Lierop or someone at Hinterland goes on Twitter and says, please make sure to keep your criticism constructive, or please feel free to leave your constructive criticism, I think that there are people who hear that and think what that means is these people only want critical responses that build them up. They only want critical responses that are constructive, that make them feel good, that have complimentary language and all these things. That's not what constructive criticism is. People have lost the difference, the distinction, the ability to distinguish even between positivity and negativity, and constructiveness and unconstructiveness, or dysfunction if you want. Another word that you can use to think of constructive is helpful. So let's go with that for a second. Helpful or unhelpful? Is it possible for you to be negative with me or with anyone else and be helpful at the same time? Of course it is. You can convey disappointment. You can convey frustration. But when you leave a message for someone, hinterland or not, when you leave a message for someone that is meant as feedback, that is meant as you saying, I want to tell you how I feel, make it useful. Turn it into something that can actually be used to further the progress of the game so that you can get the game that you want to play and so that the developers know how you honestly feel. Because way too many people, when they hear constructive criticism, think, oh, well, these guys just want to hear nice things. They don't want to hear how we really feel. And so because they feel that way, their attitudes get more and more and more negative and more toxic, and people lose the ability to have civil, constructive, thoughtful, nuanced, detailed conversations. And this is not unique to the Long Dark. This is everywhere. And this is so much of what negativity has to do with. Let me get back to the initial point, particularly with, where do I think the line is? I don't think there's ever a line to make something up or to lob personal insults. And that is unfortunately what we see entirely too much of, not just in the Long Dark situation, but in gaming in general. And it's people need to learn the distinction between positivity and negativity and helpfulness and unhelpfulness. Don't leave unhelpful comments. And if you're going to leave unhelpful comments, make them positive. If you're going to leave negative feedback, be constructive. That's the only thing. That is literally the only way to be helpful is to be helpful. Like the only way to actually get what you want out of a criticism by saying, this isn't what I like, this isn't what I want. The only way you are increasing your likelihood that that's going to happen is if you follow Wheaton's law, don't be a dick, right? And actually tell someone the truth. And when you explain why you're upset, ground it in the truth. What was really said? What really happened? Don't exaggerate. Don't make something up. Give objective, constructive feedback. People need to get better at that, and that's a big part of the problem. Last but not least, Spencer Jules asked me, I'm interested in why you chose to do YouTube videos and how you feel about the Legion of 8.3, now 8.8 thousand that you've obtained. And I saved this question for last, obviously, just because it's a happy note to end on after that kind of rant from the negativity. And I appreciate, by the way, Gerfer von Bob, the question there. But Spencer, I appreciate this question very much too. Why I chose to do YouTube videos? I was inspired by a couple of strategy YouTubers that I wasn't really into Let's Plays a couple of years ago. I thought they were silly, and then when Jimmy Kimmel made fun of them and Markiplier and a few other people kind of set him straight, or tried to anyway, and there was that whole outcry, it kind of made me more interested, like, oh, well, this is a bigger scene than I thought it was. Maybe I judged too quickly, and then I found some strategy Let's Players. I found a Rumba's channel, actually, that he did Crusader Kings 2, and I was sitting here going, man, these guys play the kind of games that I love. And so that's kind of why I started. And I started with a series called Roman Ascension that was just me basically pretending to be a YouTuber, just putting out some videos for some friends. It wasn't even on a schedule until later in the series. But then I decided to do YouTube videos after that point, just because it's a fun way to share the experiences that I've always wanted to share since I was a kid. I remember playing games when I was very young, thinking, man, wouldn't it be great to be able to record this and watch it with other people? Of course, it was just a fantasy, and it's silly, because back then it would have been completely, there was no vehicle for it. But YouTube now allows that, and allows it quite seamlessly, and I really, really enjoy that. So how I feel about the Legion, man, how don't I feel about the Legion? It's been an amazing community to watch grow. And there are some people who are listening to this right now who have been there the whole way with me. There are people who pop up every now and again and say hello, and I remember them from when the channel was less than 100 subscribers. It's really been an honor and a pleasure to see this community of really, again, thoughtful, warm, intelligent, awesome people forming around my content. I would never have expected that, and I'm so very grateful to everyone for being a part of it. And I hope the Legion only continues to grow with the help of the moderators I'm about to enlist. We're going to make sure that it continues to grow along the trajectory that it's been growing, and that hopefully we can kind of keep some of that toxicity I was just talking about at bay. I don't want it to infect this community. You can't ever keep it completely out, but I think when you foster the right attitudes and you treat people well, and you make sure that people who are only intent on not treating people well are not, given a voice, you succeed as a community. And I think a lot of the people listening to this share that vision intrinsically, or maybe even literally. They know that that's how I feel, and they agree, which I appreciate. And you don't have to agree with me if you're here. You just have to treat people well. Civility is expected, right? But I love the Legion. It's really a fantastic group, and I couldn't be more proud of the number that has amassed even since you left your comment. So again, thank you for asking that question. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to end this on a positive note. And with that being said, I want to take just a few seconds. The state of the channel is going to be really short because we covered so much ground otherwise. So I just want to say, as I conclude here, that the channel is doing quite well. We're on half schedule right now. Hopefully won't be for too long here, but I will say it's been a little bit more challenging than I thought it would be, after moving into the new place, to really get ahead of the schedule. I think it's because for a second there I was recording so much content. It was really tough. So it's starting to slow down a bit, and I'm looking forward to really starting to streamline my process. And when that happens, you might start to see some new miniseries popping up more regularly, just 5-episode miniseries the way they were originally designed to be, where I try out new games and I really try and diversify the content on the channel, as long as I keep it within the veins of the emergent storytelling stuff that I tend to play in all my time slots. But I'm very much excited about the possibility of getting everything streamlined going forward and being able to launch that. So I do hope you're looking forward to that, because I think it's going to be a fun time for the channel, and I certainly look forward to your feedback on that stuff as soon as it happens. And with all that being said, I think I will go ahead and cut this look ahead here. Thanks so much for watching. As always, your comments are welcome. Let me know what your thoughts were on any of that in the comments down below. There were a few discussions that I deliberately invited, so I'm very much looking forward to some of your thoughts already, but do let me know your feedback, and I will see you guys for another look ahead in August. Again, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.